Ladies and gentlemen, this is Internet Personality Vangelus, and it's time for the second Mastermind Creations Reformatted release who happens to resemble a member of the Decepticon Justice Division. This is Anarchus, a journalist who I expect has knowledge of the District of Chaos. He has a very strange transformation task to fulfill, but let's start off with a look at his robot mode. Because priorities! Anarchus is just as much of a comic sketch come to life as Sinicus, with his slightly bulkier but still creepo lanky proportions represented well in physical plastic. While he's very close to Alex Milne's Chaos design, there are several liberties taken in order to facilitate his transformation. The biggest one is, in my opinion, his compact but wholly conspicuous backpack. You'll soon see that it's an impressive compression of mass, but it's easily the part of this toy that most loudly says, "This thing needs to work in real life." Anyway, let me lay into how much Anarchus is Chaos. He's got the weird folded tread shins and calves with huge pointy feet, he's got the chest-mounted rotary generator and kooky Tesla coil spires jutting from his shoulders, and he's got the literally cold dead void for eyes. The main color combo of deep crimson, bony tan, and copper is represented and laid out very well. If I had my druthers, the shoulders would have featured energized purple electricity effect parts to add on and change the toy's mood to one of shock treatment torture. But I don't always get my druthers. That said, my druthers got a hardcore pleasure stroke from Anarchus's head sculpt, which is one of the most Alex Milne-ass Alex Milne robot head sculpts I've ever seen. The head design is represented extremely well, but for me, the big victory is the pointy-nosed and gaunt Milne-esque face. Like, from every angle, it oozes the identity that we've seen in the pages of the comics. My only qualm is the same one I had with Spartan. The mouth's expression is somewhat lost by being painted in silver along with the rest of the face. And for sure, I'm not sure if the factory could lay in such a tiny paint app, but I think I see teeth, and I like my robot teeth to be all bony white. Anarchus lays down some pain with his plasma cannon, which I believe is an entirely original piece. Not found in the comics, but found with this toy. It looks cool and sci-fi, it's got a scope, and Anarchus can't hold it very tightly. It sits firmly at certain angles, but there's a very fine line to cross before it starts to get real loose in there. For defense, Anarchus has a weird-looking buckler thing that's all ribbed and spiny and weird. That's because it has 6 spidery legs. While it's kinda terrible as an arm-mounted capture claw deal, you can split it in half and futz its incomplete connectors into place to give Anarchus some ridiculous Wolverine claws. But the actual main function of this thing is that of a little drone, complete with cute red eyes, who I've dubbed the other pet. He can be a 6-legged not a spider, but I found myself falling in love with him as a 4-legged creature with 2 huge leg-like arms. You can attach the plasma cannon onto the drone, and I feel like this is a way more effective setup than plugging either accessory onto Anarchus himself. It's a happy, murderous, adorable hexbug turret. Oh yeah, this is very important to me, so I'm going to point it out right now. Anarchus is able to wield Sinicus in his sniper rifle mode. It looks a little silly, and the gun comes off about a size and a half too big for Anarchus's body, but he can hold it. Thank friggin' goodness. Anarchus's head is ball-jointed with a humongous range, and given the shape of his head, his expression, his creepy-ass eyes, like, it looks great. And it's also for the sake of the transformation, a platform that can rotate forwards and backwards just a touch in robot mode, but just enough for him to really, look down at his own chest and wonder why. His arms can go forwards and backwards. They can move outwards as well, and the Tesla rod things here can move independently. They kind of stick with the shoulder until they hit, one of their locking borders there or there. It's weird. I wonder if I would have liked it more if these things locked more tightly or stayed in place while the shoulder moved freely around them. I'm not sure, but they are very animate on this toy. There is a bicep swivel. And then you've got an elbow joint here. And then if you want, you've also got an elbow joint here. Double jointed elbows. It's a good day to be a journalist. His wrists are ball jointed with a large range on the waggle factor. And that makes me pleased. This guy has exactly 1 waist joint. And it's a big ball socket joint. Look at this. This is wonderful. As for actual swiveling motion, he can go here, and at that point stuff starts banging into stuff, and it's not his backpack, it's actually the underhanging parts on the cylinder in the middle of his chest. They bang into the ridge of his pelvic region. So there's nothing really to be done about it except, I don't know, live with it. It's a shame. That's like the only real limited joint on this guy. His hips can go outwards for full splits. They can go forwards and backwards. And you might think, hey, I wish you'd go more forwards. Well, check it out. There's a little skirt flap that goes up and it goes more forwards. There's one sad thing here, though. And while this is the most limited joint, the most not here at all joint is a thigh swivel. There are none. There are parts moving in here that I believe for stability's sake do not allow for a thigh swivel to cut across here because of, you know, this stuff going on. Structurally, I would assume it could not be fit in. I wish it could have been fit in down here above the knee joint. The knee, by the way, is lovely. Just a full 90 degrees. Because there is a swivel underneath the knee joint. It's kind of a boot cut. Again, it's for transformation's sake. I have so far not found myself really sad about the lack of a thigh swivel, at least as much as I felt when I first noticed it. But be aware that usual point of articulation is not there, and be aware that it doesn't really interfere too much with its absence due to the combination of the boot cut and the ankles. The ankle, like the whole foot structure, it's humongously long, so he's got great standing stability and a really decent ankle tilt. So nothing to worry about in that regard. You can also move his foot here a whole bunch. So you can tap his toe, you can have him walking, etc., etc. These little heel pieces are also articulate, and that's real helpful because I have gotten into this whole thing of doing the hard return stance, and I like to have these guys kind of pelvic thrusting forward a little bit in a classic hero stance with their legs going back. And if this thing is flat out like this, it's not really touching the ground, but if I get him the way I want him, I can just move these down to be more like high heels, and then he stands super solid. It's great. This guy is built like just real tight and solid. Everything feels not rigid, but everything feels fluid but strong. Nothing's loose. It's great. And that translates over to the other pet as well. This guy has 6 legs. They're all identical in posability. They're all ball socket joints up here with a cut in the bottom to be able to curl up super tight. And then there is a pinned or riveted hinge right here, which is dead friggin' tight. And so that times 6 means that this little guy can hold himself up in a number of postures. Like, you can have him going like, hi, I'm the pet, I'm the number 2 pet, the real pet's not here right now. You will want to get him with at least 3 feet on the ground or he is going to tip over. But he stands real nice, and his legs don't give out at all. Like here, you can get him kind of standing tall. It's cute. You can't make the gun twist left and right, can you? No, you can't, because that would split him in half. The gun has to be pointing forwards if you have it mounted on him. But it can point up, so that's neat. These guys are super fun to pose. They are not like ridiculous yoga acrobats like Synicus was, but collectively, I still have had a ton of fun with them. So how on earth does this robot turn into a chair? The secret is his backpack, but it's not as egregious as that may sound up front. Before we get there, the plasma cannon doesn't have to plug into the crotch and arms, but it helps solidify that stuff together a lot. Without it, there's a painful amount of wiggle, and it's already a bummer that the hands are just chilling out on their ball joints. Anyway, the backpack, just watch how this thing unfurls and, like, keeps on unfurling well past the part where one might expect the unfurlage factor to peter out. It keeps going. It keeps on going. Does this mean it's a chair in a backpack attached to a robot? Yeah, kinda. But this transformation crosses a specific boundary and makes something pretty amazing out of that, in my opinion. That and the rest of the robot does turn into something. Well, the legs do, specifically. While the arms and torso are just some generator accoutrement mush, the lower body forms the base of the chair, and the treads use some really specific double swivel motions that are not difficult so much as daunting and finicky the first time around, possibly the second or third time around as well. And the instructions glaze over a lot of the tread motions, which certainly doesn't help. On the upside, once you get everything lined up and locked in, the final alternate mode is incredibly solid. The toes tab into the sides of the backrest, and everything becomes concrete. We have achieved chair mode. And, ladies and gentlemen, it works. This is what I wanted the toy to achieve, and Mastermind Creations pulled it off. Anarchus transforms into an electric torture chair on tank treads, and if you aren't into that, you probably weren't into this toy or the character design it draws from in the first place. And let's be honest, the bulky generator stuff on the back tends to look like a butterfly splayed torso and arms no matter how you cut it. I wish that either the hands could have hidden away, or the shoulder and arm mass could have compressed backwards to be seated more snugly against the back of the chair. But that chair! Look at all its sculpted and painted detail, the various different textures, and the awareness that those surfaces will be the focal point of this mode until you put another toy on top of them. This looks lovely, and Anarchus's legs do transform into a nicely reshaped, tank-treaded base. The chair is also adjustable on multiple fold points to help accommodate a variety of clients, and the treads can even rock the entire setup back and forth a little, though they're far more haphazard to tweak. Anyone with a huge or non-movable backpack or tail will have trouble fitting in here, but it's a lot of fun to test fit whatever toys I happen to have nearby. And if you need some help holding the patients down, the drone can split and attach as a sextuplet of arms/bindings/horrible torture things. Yes, this can look kinda overblown in the context of a kooky robot electric chair, but the arms have such solid joints, they've been a boon to helping me keep even more figures locked down for treatment. Doubly so since the wrist cuff parts are almost entirely for show. The multiple hinged arm and ball-jointed tip allow the skull cap assembly to sit down comfortably in almost any situation, though I've also used it as a face mask when there's too much headgear in the way. Anyway, let's pull off the drone halves and the plasma cannon. Let's transform some stuff. Let's just fold some things up and swivel some parts around. I'm just playing around, buddy. I'm just messing with joints to see what happens. That's the path of the fan motor, and Mastermind Creations outright facilitated one particular result with the drone accessory. Anarchus can turn into a mecha scorpion shape, and the addition of the drone legs and plasma cannon stinger drop in the extra touch to solidify that silhouette. And you know, as a transformation scheme, it's not too random and feels quite intentional. And on paper, absolutely, I can agree with somebody looking at this in bewilderment and asking why it's even here. This is an entirely original concept from Mastermind's end, and you could probably entirely avoid it and still get a full experience out of the toy, but the shape is kinda cool. It's a very front-bulked mechanical power scorpion, with friggin' Tesla coil mandibles and a gun for a stinger. This mode looks massive in hand, pulling off a bit of an illusion by splaying out so much of the Anarchist body and covering the empty space in back with the split drone legs. Those legs maintain their posability and help the Scorpion have solid footing, and the skull cap becomes a ball-jointed mono-eye that works way better than it should. However, the Scorpion arms are more limited than one might think, as the robot hips can't move without the thighs banging into the folded robot elbows. But I don't know, I think this form really works as a solid third mode, a bonus mode if you will, and adds an unexpected icing layer of value to the whole Anarchist package for me. This is a weird transforming robot toy, trying to represent a weird comic book design and adding a weird third mode for the sake of why not? Compared to Synicus, Anarchus is a categorical improvement in just about every way, with a larger size, a more solid build quality, and more functionality at the same price. Synicus' biggest problem was a lack of bang for your buck, and Anarchus has it in spades. If you're into the very idea of a torture chair transformer in the first place, and if you can get into the extra stuff like the drone and the scorpion mode. If you want a robot who turns into a chair and nothing more, this is still probably worth the pickup, but all the extra bells and whistles fill out the $85 American much better than his robot and chair modes alone. Dialing it back and speaking just for myself, I think Anarchus is enormously impressive. He had to pull off a crazy and strange transformation, and he does. His chair mode then goes on to feel really solid. It then goes on to accommodate fitting a range of figures into its seat. It then goes on to have a surprisingly fun Hexbug drone, who then goes on to facilitate a surprisingly solid Scorpion mode. Anarchus constantly pushes to achieve more than his minimum necessary function, and given how daunting that minimum necessary function was in the first place, he narrowly ekes past Spartan and Commodus to be my personal favorite Mastermind Creations release of 2015. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I've got one of those annoying end-of-video questions for those of you who have an Anarchus of your own. What's the strangest figure that you've managed to fit into his chair mode? Share your experience! Satisfy my voyeurism.